Okay, good morning. Welcome back to today's session on, as you can see, body language. I'm K. Shailaja Rao. So, I'm sure all of you know what body language is by now. We had covered it in the last session, but all of you had so many questions. So, I thought we should have another round of body language session, and that's why we're here. I hope you listen, understand, be aware of how to use your body language, how to feel comfortable in some postures and gestures, and how very important it is that we know how to use our body, that we know that our body is always communicating some information to the person who's watching. Okay, so even without speaking, people give out a lot of information, and our bodies never lie. They cannot. So they give out information without even you knowing it. So we should be aware of how we are standing, sitting, walking, talking, smiling, or whether frowning, whatever we are doing. We should always be aware of how we look or how we posture. So let's look at body language. So as I said before, for those who have come for the first day today, so I just want to repeat a few important points that body language covers more than 65% of communication. The verbal communication part is only 35%, out of which 7% is words, and the rest is tone of voice, your voice, how you sound. All the rest, 65%, is all these other things like facial expression, tone of voice, movement, appearance, eye contact, gestures, posture. All these constitute the other 65%. That's why what you say is important, but it is not as important as how you say it, how you move while saying it, how you look while saying it, how well you can say it. All these things do matter. So if you break it still further, it shows that only 7% is spoken words, 38% is voice and tone, and 55% is body language. So I'm sure what you assess when you see somebody for the first time is how they look, how they're standing, how they're walking, especially when it comes to, popular people. You can see when you see a Narendra Modi walking, I'm sure you can see the confidence in his walk. When you see a district collector coming out and talking to people, you can see his posture, you see the way he listens. People who are in high positions, they tend to be more quiet, they tend to listen a lot. That is the body language they have, which shows their confidence levels, which shows their authority, their power. And of course, the movie actors have a different kind of body language. So all these things, all these people are exuding some type of body language, and we should be aware of that. Okay. So today we will again look at proxemics, because what is proxemics? I said kinesics, yes, but proxemics is another important thing that all of you should be aware of. Here in India, we are such a huge bunch, we are so many people that we don't really think about proxemics, or we don't think about distances between people. Like, in a bus, we are very happy to accommodate two-seater bus, two-seater seat in a bus. We are happy to accommodate 4 people. Somebody will sit in your lap also sometimes. So, or in a car, a car which seats only 4 people, maybe 3 at the back, 1 in the front, 4. We sometimes see people, you go to the beach, you will see 8 people coming out of a car. And you will wonder, how did these many people fit in? Where did they sit? But we are not so worried about distances. We Indians, as a culture, we are very used to people living or sitting or standing very close by, but nowadays, as we are dealing with the outside world, we are going out into the business world where we are dealing with all kinds of people, people of all cultures and people of all countries, we should be aware of proxemics. That is, what is the distance you should maintain when you are with strangers? What is the distance you have to maintain when you are with friends? What is the distance you can maintain when you are with family? What is the distance you should maintain with teachers, with your faculty, with your principal? So, all these things you should know. Whether you do it or not is another matter, but if you are aware, I am sure you will follow most of it. So, I am sure you have seen that there are 5 types of non-verbal body language types. One is semiotics, which is sign language, which is used for generally, deaf and dumb people, and then kinesics, body language, haptics, the study of touch, or the way touch also influences what you are communicating. When you pat someone on the back, you are touching somebody, you are just patting. So, are you communicating something? When do you pat someone on the back? Only when they have done something good, right? So, that touch is communicating something. When you hug someone, happy birthday, you give them a hug. What is that touch communicating? That he is a good friend of yours, right? So, all this touch is also an important part of communication. And chronomics, time. How well you respect your time and somebody else's time, this is also something, it tells a lot about how you are responding to someone. So generally, if I am talking about chronomics, I will just take a minute. What I am trying to say is, in India especially, it is a popular thing to note that most important people, whether it's VIPs or film stars or maybe politicians, they tend to come late. Why do they do it? Most of them do it on purpose also. Why? They will say 11 o'clock, they will arrive at 12, because it gives them that time that the people, the audience are kept waiting, gives them a sense of importance. So, they feel that they are communicating something to the audience, saying you are waiting for me for 1 hour and so I am important. So, that kind of a thing. So, in business dealings, this is not at all appreciated. Especially if we are doing business with Americans, they are very particular about time. So, even if you are a minute late, it would be taken as being very rude. So, chronomics is also dependent a lot on the culture of the place, but today, because the whole world is a global village, we have to be aware of other people's time management ways, and we have to adapt to them. So, let us look at what can you see in this picture? What do you see in this picture? What is the distance that is being maintained by some people? What is the distance being maintained, for instance, between these two, and between these 4 friends here? And again, look at the distance between this person and the person who is behind him. Can you tell whether they are, these 2 people, do you think they are friends? Yeah? What do you think this person and that other, this person and the other person behind that? Do you think they are also friends? Look at these 2. Are they friends? Are they close friends? What about these 4? Can you tell something about their relationships, or how they are connected to each other based on their body language? Based on the distance they are standing or sitting from each other? Yes or no? Probably, maybe looking at the age you thought it's her boss, but yes. So, just looking at them, we form an impression about their relationship between those 2. This could be her boss, or it could be an old acquaintance, her earlier faculty or teacher who taught her in school or college, and they are meeting at some conference or something. because they have the friendly distance. Like, but the person who's standing at the back, there is a lot of distance between those two people. So probably they are not as well acquainted as these two are. Again, you can see that these four people are very sitting in close proximity. They must be close friends. These people look as if they have just sort of met, and probably they have just known each other now. That is the image I get. Maybe you get a different image, maybe you get a different impression, but that's what I feel from this picture. So, that is why the way you behave, we tell students also, the way you behave with the other person tells a lot about you. The way you touch another person, the way there is nowadays it's become very easy to slap someone at the back or on the back, or hold hands or things like that. So that image or that action that you do, the closeness with which you behave with the other person tells a lot about your relationship with that person, right? You can tell in a mall whether a mother and son or baby are walking together. Even if they are not walking, you will know that they are mother and child. And of course, if she's carrying him or something, they are in a very intimate position where the child is being carried by the mother. So you know that obviously it's the mother or some very close relative. So proxemics, as I told you earlier, there are some distances that you have to maintain. First is the intimate, personal, social and public. The intimate distance is 50 centimeters or approximately 1 to 1.5 feet. Okay? And then you can be as close as 1 foot or less than that, 6 inches. If it is your own parent, if it is your own husband, wife, if your siblings who have grown up together. So that is the distance you maintain, or very close friends. Next comes the personal distance, which is about 0.5 meter to 1 meter, approximately 1 meter in distance. They're your friends, but you won't be hugging your friends all the time, right? You should not be touching your friends all the time. If you're not that close to them, if you're not intimate, it's best to maintain at least 1 foot distance between friends. And then the social distance, which we are all talking about now, is 1 meter to 4 meters. So that is the social distance they are asking us to have, 1 to 2 meters, especially because of corona. The word social distancing was there long ago, but it's come into the limelight because of the COVID. So that is the social distance you're supposed to maintain. Even at parties, if you are invited for a party or we get so close to other people that makes them uncomfortable. So try to maintain a distance of 1 meter with someone you've just met at a wedding or a party, and you would like to talk to them, talk to them from a distance of 1 meter or more. And then public, 4 meters or more. That is, when you meet someone who, like a teacher won't stand close to you and speak, right? She's speaking at a distance of 4 meters or more, even in class. So speakers who are there on the podium could be politicians, cinema actors, any other public speaker. The distance they maintain with the public is 4 meters or more. This is the distance you should maintain, even with your faculty. If you are in college, with your teachers, you should not get too close to them because you are not their personal friend, right? You have to maintain a social distance, about 1 meter distance, unless they ask you to come closer so that they can hear you better or something like that. But always maintain that social distance between people who you have just met or who you just don't know very well, or whom respectable distance it's called. So you have to maintain that distance. Let's look more clearly about that. Do you have any questions about this? Group discussion with colleagues, 2 people are sitting, hands we can understand, he is a senior or manager, maybe yes. Colleagues, yeah, they could all be colleagues. So intimate distance, you see I was talking about intimate zone. These distances are also called zones. So mother and daughter, intimate zone. Personal zone, all close friends, they are watching just one laptop, so they must be classmates or personal zone. And then we have social zone, when you go shopping or when you outside on the road, wherever you are, theater, all this is a social zone. You meet people, but you have to maintain that distance. And then the public zone, like I said, speakers on the podium, wherever, that's the public zone. This is 4 meters or more. And then we come to kinesics. Okay, kinesics. Before I start kinesics, let's just have a small video. Watch that video. I'm sure you'll like it, and then we'll continue with this part. So did you like that video? Yes, conveyed a lot of information, right? So especially what I'm talking about, you know, when you show your arms, you know, what do the police say when somebody is, you must be seeing it all the time, arms up, palms forward, looking forward, right? It shows that I mean, if you have your palms up, it shows that you are not hiding something. Okay, so these kind of things are, even when you have your hands at the back, secretive, they say. So if the police will say, put your hands in the front. So these are all body languages, which the police are taught to do, you know, they have a big subject on body language and how to read someone's body language. So that's a different matter altogether. So let's see kinesics. So just now you saw postures, let's see kinesics. So what is kinesics? Kinesics is the study of movement and of postures. The way you stand, the way you move, the way you shake your head, you know, like in the earlier video we saw that, you know, some students I always see, you know, they are not actually listening, but they just keep, and they feel that they are fooling us, right? We are not fooled, because whenever somebody is shaking their head too much, it shows that they are just doing it for the sake of doing it, not actually listening. A person who actually listens carefully will just shake his head maybe once in a while during the whole talk, you know, every 5-6 minutes once they will shake their head. They will not keep on shaking their head. So this type of body language is easily read by others. So I'm sure you can read this slide. So kinesics is the study of movements and gestures, because they communicate a lot of things, and so body movements are considered to be giving out a lot of information, are supposed to be communicating a lot. Let's see how they communicate. So we communicate through our body language through gestures, posture, eye contact, facial expression, and a lot more. So we will see what these gestures are. So gestures are the main types, but there are so many kinds of gestures, like, you know, adapters, emblems, illustrators. So let's look at what these things mean, and then logos, all these things are also gestures. So what are adapters? Like, you know, since I came, and it is compulsory that I have this pen here, I have been, you know, how I have actually become quite used to this thing. When I'm having this class, I change it from this hand to this hand and this hand, and sometimes I'm holding it like this, sometimes I'm doing this. So what I'm trying to, this gesture, it gives me a lot more confidence when I have this in hand. So generally everybody has one adapter or so. Some people like to stand behind the podium and speak, hide behind the podium. That is their way of gesturing. Some people like to hold the mic and then move with the mic. They'll walk all over and they'll, you know, talk while speaking. That is their way of gestures. Some people will have their hands in their pocket just to have a column mic and they'll speak. So these are all different kinds of gestures, and for speakers. So those are called adapters. Let's look at some postures along the way. So I'm sure you understand what these postures mean. We just have had some of these explained. The first one looks a bit arrogant, right? You know, it's like, you know, like she was telling in the expression, animals also do this posture. When they are scared or when they want to appear very big, you know, intimidating to someone, you see birds also puffing themselves up when another bird is coming or a dog is coming. What do? They puff themselves up and make themselves look big. So as a man also, sometimes when somebody is coming to fight you, the natural stance you will take, come on, yeah, go on. So what are you trying to do? You're trying to show him that you're big. So it is actually not a very good gesture. It seems a bit arrogant, rude, okay, and then that gesture is when you done something, maybe that one also, showing your strength, you know, that's the gesture. Most people after they win a competition or something, they do that. And then this gesture, as you all know, when you have your hand on your chin or something like this, what does it mean? Right? It means that they are thinking, right? So this, what does this mean? I've got something to say. Okay? This gesture, generally children do this all the while. When they're scared, they'll immediately, you know, make this gesture. You see how it is making the person look smaller? Whenever you're scared, you try to become small. You know, when you're hiding from someone, when you're scared that the teacher will look at you, what do you do in class? You'll hide behind someone and try to make yourself small. You'll slide lower into your seat. So that is when you're trying to make yourselves obscure. So when you're scared, this is, I can do anything here. This is that Pawan Kalyan posture probably, right? Collar. What is that collar? That is this pose only. Trying to say, I can do, I'm the hero kind of thing. You know, that is just a sideways posture. Here, crossed posture, which we also know, is when people are not accepting. But actually, again, it all depends on culture to culture. In our culture, earlier it used to be said, especially Indian culture, where we respect our elders a lot. When somebody comes to the house, or you know, in front of the teacher, you were supposed to stand like this. This shows that you are obedient, that you are respecting someone. But today, we are all following the body language movements and gestures that are dictated by the Americans or the English, because we are all now extended our world much beyond just our borders. So, now we have to maybe follow some of our cultural things, but we have to understand, be aware of how you come across when you have this posture. So, if you have this posture in a meeting where with someone, you will come across as a person who is not you know, listening to them properly, who is not accepting what the others are saying. So, this is another important posture. This is also a posture which shows that I am there for you kind of a thing, and that posture, it shows victory sign, V for victory, but again, as I said, these postures and gestures differ from country to country, from culture to culture. This sign may be taken as a derogatory or, you know, disrespectful in some countries. So, emblems are certain things which are common in all cultures, most cultures, that is. They will not be 100%, but most of them. When we say this, what do I mean? When that fellow is a little, I am sure you say this all the time to some of your teachers or, you know, some friends. You say, that boy is a little. Immediately, what do you understand? I am sure you will understand the meaning of the circling of the finger, right? Yeah, when it is cold too. When we are talking about this thing, you know, that posture, we are not talking about the weather. Of course, when it's hot and cold, we do that. We there, and when not enough air, we do that. But that has nothing to do with the temperature. It is how you behave regardless of the temperature. So, this means, oh, that fellow is crazy. And when you say something like thumbs up, you mean perfect, right? Okay. Especially now emoticons, you have that thumbs up whenever you like something. You don't say yes, okay, you just send a thumbs up. So, these are the things that will, you know, if you do this in front of your eyes, move your hand in front of your eyes. So, what are you telling somebody? Go on, go away, move on, right? So, this is a common gesture. So, these are gestures which are very common among most countries, most people, are called emblems. So, these are some of the emblems which are very common, like, you know, victory, thumbs up, thumbs down. When I say how was the match, it means not good, right? Ready to fight. So, this again means okay in most countries. This could mean ready for a challenge, yo, or, you know, this is one of the latest thing that especially boys do all the time, right? It could also mean, you know, in some cultures it also means I love you. So be very careful when you're doing that. So illustrators. So illustrators, whenever we use illustrators also, when we are trying to explain something to someone, we use this, you know. Yesterday I went to the market and I saw a big pumpkin. So instead of just telling them big pumpkin, you will say, you'll show your hand saying how big it was. Or and you'll always say, I saw an amazing car yesterday. You're saying amazing, but at the same time you're doing this, showing that you're trying to express that word amazing, you're trying to add it with your gestures. This is called illustrators. You know, sometimes even without speaking we'll say, hi, bye, when you get home. What am I saying? When you reach home. So that's an illustrator. What am I doing here? I'm suggesting that you call me when you reach home, right? So that's an illustrator. So things like these are called illustrators, which everybody understands, right? So these are, unlike emblems, do not have a meaning on their own. If you just do this, nobody will understand. But if I say when you reach home, call, means when you reach home, call me. Or when sometimes you're going away, bye, you do this, write a letter. Send me a mail, you do this. So the person understands. So if you just write in the air, nobody will understand. But in context of the conversation, sometimes these illustrators, even when we're talking on the phone, we are still using illustrators. We are just still gesturing. Because we don't realize that the other person can't see us. So we've got so used to, you know, do you want to come to the movie tomorrow? No. You'll be saying, shaking your head here. That's an illustrator. Why you're saying no, but can the person on the phone see your head? No, but still you're doing it because you've gotten so used to these gestures. So illustrators are those. And then logos. Logos all of us understand. Logo is a brand, is something which gives weight to that product or that person. You know, nowadays you have these brand ambassadors and all that. Why? Because the importance of the logo. So if you see a BMW or if you see a Mercedes-Benz, you immediately, I'm sure all the boys will recognize all these emblems that they have on logos. You know, if you find a bag branded a polo t-shirt or something, the logo matters. You'll check whether it's really polo or not, right? So even those are communicating a lot. The logo is communicating so much that it is of quality, that it's the best and things like that. So head movements and posture. So generally head movements are also you know, a lot of, they say a lot of things. Let us look at some head movements, some postures. So what is the difference you find between these two postures? Tell me. Say this is the first one. This is one. Okay. One, and this is posture number 2. What is the difference do you find? What do you think this posture is telling us and what that posture is telling? This person doesn't look confident, he looks worried, he looks anxious, he is not open for any suggestion, he looks even in a very sad mood, he does not look confident at all. Suppose if somebody was sitting like this in an interview room, would the person the CEO just walk past, will he select him or him? Surely he'll select the next person who looks confident. He's not even making eye contact. He's making eye contact, he's smiling, he's sitting straight, his hands are on his lap, which is this is a Lincolnesque posture. Abraham Lincoln used to sit like this. So whenever this posture is shown, it's called a Lincolnesque posture. So these are something that you learned. Fantastic, very good. So eye contact, this is a very important thing. So you can see that eye contact is, you communicate a lot through eye contact, and it is also called the study of the eye contact. This is also a science, you know, there's a science behind everything. This is called oculesics here as you see, and it is oculus means a Latin word for I. And as we speak, generally it's the face and especially the eyes which are the focus when somebody speaks, right? You're always watching somebody's face or somebody's eyes. So that's why they say the eyes are windows to your soul also. So eye contact is very important. So eye contact, I have got another video, I'll show you how quickly if we finish this. Facial expressions are very important. You know, when you see somebody's facial expression, even before they are able to hide, you know, you tell somebody that they failed or give them some bad news, immediately you will see in a flash, you can see their expression change, but then they will put on a fake expression later on saying, yeah, it's okay, or I already knew that I was going to fail. But for an instant there will be a disappointment, a grief or sadness in them which moves in a flash before they can hide it, and then they hide it with a grin or saying, yeah, I knew I would fail. So these facial expressions are very difficult to read, but then you can read a lot. That is why, you know, even when a snapshot, why do they say smile? Because when you smile, generally you look good, right? So even for pictures, we try to have a good facial expression when we take a picture, right? Especially for your selfies. Effective use of facial expression. You know, if you smile, you appear friendly, warm, a very open person, and same thing, you know, smiling is contagious. If you smile, the other person is forced to smile. If you smile and say good morning ma'am or good morning hello, I'm sure the other person will also smile and say a hello. So facial expressions are very important. It could be any of these expressions. You know, this is like, I don't know, I'm not interested, or that's a very you know, antagonistic facial expression, as if, you know, is going to fight or something. This is maybe a surprise, you know, and this is a very friendly facial expression. And then in body language, appearance is also very, very important. As I was talking to you in the last class, we talked a lot about attire and how you should in the grooming session. So these are some of the pictures, maybe streetwear, casual, business casual. Business casual is when you go for lunch or dinner with a business person. You could be wearing a t-shirt, but see, that t-shirt has a collar. You can't wear a collarless t-shirt like that. And then smart casual is when you're tucked in, and business formal and business black tie, semi-formal. Black tie is the bow tie, and the business formal is a tie with a blazer or a coat, and this is a very, very formal dinner dress, especially when the queen invites you. It's either a black tie or white tie. Depending on the invitation, you have to dress up like that. So shoulder shrug. Before we go here, so you saw that video on the do's and don'ts of interview, you know, body language and how you behave in an interview, what postures or body language you should showcase in an interview. Now let's look at the body language of leaders or people who are in higher positions. What sort of a body language do they show? Do they come across? So if you want to identify a leader in the room, tell by these body language. Actually, a lot of studies done on that, a lot of research is done, and here actually we have a small writer, not small writer, an author who's written about the body language of leaders, and this is a small interview being conducted by television, and she tells us a few, gives us a few tips on how to recognize the body language of leaders. So let's see if we can understand that. So, was that interesting? I'm sure you learned a lot about how leaders behave, what sort of a body language they exude. So, when we want to be leaders, that is the kind of language our body should give out. You know, not keep nodding your head. You know, that person who's nodding his head all the time in the class should understand that a person who's always nodding his head is called a bubblehead. Okay, he's not taken seriously. A person who's always moving around is not taken seriously. So try to stay still, like, you know. So a leader is generally a person who is still, who looks you in the eye, makes eye contact while he speaks, and we should try to make eye contact with him as we speak, so that he holds we hold his interest. So this is the body language of leaders, and if you want to be leaders, that is the kind of body language you should give out. So these are some small tips that the author gave us. So let's look at the next slide. Shoulder shrug. So let us look at some more gestures. The shoulder shrug, which means I don't know, or I don't know, I can't understand what you're saying. We saw this before. The ring or okay, Obama. Thumbs up sign, as we all know, means very good, fantastic, okay, fine, you know. So this is, you know, again, the thumbs up sign has different meanings in different countries. In the United States, it's for a good job, well done. Even in India, it's well done. Germany, it means number one. Instead of they're showing like this, in Germany, this means number one. In Japan, number 5. This means 5 in Japan. And in Ghana, it's an insult. Be very careful if you go to Africa. In Malaysia, the thumb is used to point rather than a finger. Instead of showing this, they show like this, I believe, in Malaysia. So if you are traveling and if you know these things, it's much easier for you to. That is why body language depends a lot on the culture. So in Indian culture, this is okay, this is fine, this is fantastic. But then these countries, it means something else. But generally now, because WhatsApp and all these things are more westernized, or, you know, more based on American culture, so this is taken to be a standard saying. Good. Congruence, that he is not agreeing to something. And these are, we just saw the palm positions, right? Aggressive palm position. You remember another leader who used to use this palm position? Second World War, or, you know, Hitler, Hail Hitler. So that, can you imagine somebody saying Hail Hitler? Looks all funny, right? Hitler always uses, that shows an aggressive palm position. When you have open, that's a submissive palm position. You know, when the police say hands up, what do? You don't hands up like this, right? So that is a submissive palm position. And then that's a dominant palm position, and even this is a very aggressive one. Handshakes. There is like I told you, there is a lot to study in handshakes. This is a glove handshake, giving control handshake, and that's a very solid, firm handshake. And rubbing hands. When you do this, you can smell something lovely. Expectation, right? Positive expectation. I'm going to have something good for dinner, or I'm going to meet my friend today. Steepling hands. This is again a gesture of leaders. Generally, they use this gesture. Clenched hands. When you're not very sure, you're thinking, you're still undecided, that could be the clenched hands. Gripping hands, and closed attitude and open attitude. So I think with that, thumb displays, we already saw in the last slide how these thumb displays, actually when you have your hands in your pockets, it shows that you are negative and you have a dominant attitudes in some. Mouth, when you're trying to suppress deceitful words, when you're trying to lie, or sometimes this could be also be surprise. Catch a lie, you know, when somebody is scratching your eye or closing their eye, this means lying. Collar pull indicates anger, frustration, too hot, irritated. Evaluation, you can see the boredom on his face. As I said, what does this mean? Yes. So these are so many other gestures, readiness, closed formation, nervous, leg position. We saw this shows ownership gesture, and with that we come to the end of it, and I'm sure you enjoyed this body language class. If not anything, we understood, you became aware of how body language can convey a lot of meaning and convey a lot of information. So we should be aware of how we are standing, how we are speaking, how we are nodding our head, are we nodding too much, are we making eye contact or not. So these are the things we should be aware of. Have a good posture and have a good day. See you all in the next class.